And we are turning now to a local effort that we've been highlighting throughout the month of August. We're talking about Clear the Shelters here. So day after day, we've been speaking with a local rescue or shelter who's participating with this magnificent campaign to try to get as many pets adopted as possible, raise awareness about animal welfare and how we can all play a part in that. And so we're really excited to join now with some folks in Lincoln County. We are speaking right now with Helping Animals to Survive. This is essentially a non-profit no-kill partner for the Lincoln County Animal Shelter. And so we have Ken Phelps, who's joining us right now. You're a board member. You do a lot of work with HATS and also, of course, by nature of what your group does, a lot of work with the Lincoln County Animal Shelter, too. So thanks so much for joining us here in the Live Impact News studio.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Well, we're really excited to talk about all that you do and talk about some of your adoptable pets. You've shared some pictures and bios with us ahead of time, and they got some real cuties, so we're excited to talk about those. I guess first off, I'd love to talk about the no-kill element that y'all have been spearheading in Lincoln County. This has been underway for, from what I understand, more than 10 years is something that's been a priority for your group, and y'all have been able to achieve the no-kill status for the Lincoln County Shelter. So tell us a bit about that.
Well, it all started, I believe, in 2013, and there was a group of people that approached the board commissioners in Lincoln County, and they asked if they could get the county to consider being a no-kill shelter. The county at that time, they were not aware or not keen to that project, so it took a lot of letter writing, a lot of promotions, a lot of people involved in getting it done. Slowly but surely, the commissioners of the county said, okay, we'll consider going to a no-kill. But for the first couple years, they didn't put anything in place to do that. And then they had a change of personnel, and the new director at the shelter was able to implement things. And it took a couple years to become a no-kill, but I believe it was in June of 2027 that we officially became a no-kill. The no-kill requirements are 12 consecutive months of 90% or better release rate, and you have to do that every month. If you fall behind even 89.9%, that no-kill goes away and you have to start all over again. And fortunately, we've been able to do it and maintain that for a number of years now, and we've not fallen below that 90% in all those years, although sometimes it was very, very close, and we had to put an extreme effort in getting some of the dogs and cats adopted.
I mean, I can imagine how difficult maintaining a status like that can be, not just any time, but maybe particularly now, because I feel like, you know, with some of my volunteer work with at least Charlotte Shelter, I've heard that there's kind of a golden era, if you will, during the pandemic when lots of folks, at least here in Charlotte, wanted to adopt pets. They wanted someone to keep them company while they were working from home primarily or locked down on quarantine. And then kind of after that, it feels like there are various factors that went into play, but now we're starting to see a lot of animals come into shelters, and sometimes it does feel like it's never ending, at least from what we're seeing here in the Charlotte area and kind of the surrounding suburbs. How is it in Lincoln County from what you understand?
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
The pandemic, we had a lot of dogs adopted. We do it at the PetSmart in Lincolnton, and for 2 or 3 years, that PetSmart was the #1 adoption center in all the Southeast. And that includes, I believe, other competitors as well. And from what the managers told me, the numbers weren't even close. Unfortunately, when the pandemic was over, people started going back to work. Then all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute, that dog I adopted, well, what do I do with it now? I'm going to be gone all day. And they try maybe to get it rehomed, but unfortunately, some cases, they basically just drop the dog off someplace and let the dog fend for itself. And that's a sad part of it. But we have to look at it as every dog we get adopted is that's one more that we don't have to worry about in the shelter. So
Yeah. And well, speaking of getting dogs adopted, we've prepared a bit of a slideshow for folks so we can go through some of the pictures that you sent. And I'll kind of direct you. We have a little monitor. Ken, if you ever want to look off to the side, you can see what is on the stream. So right
Okay.
now it's us,
Okay.
but we're about to show Randall first off, because Randall here is adoptable. He's 5 years old, neutered male boxer mix, and he's got some great notes from what I understand. Y'all do a lot of work with volunteering, and so I can imagine you have some volunteers with the shelter who've spent some time with Randall and they've gotten to know him. So what can you tell us about Randall?
Well, Randall has been with us probably the longest. He's been with us, I think, since December of last year. We've had him at our adoption event. Randall is a great dog. He's very friendly. He likes to be a lap dog. He can be dog selective, and that's the case of a lot of dogs. They have a tendency to, after they've been in the kennel, they want to be protective, I guess. So Randall we'd love to have a meet and greet with other dogs. We've had a couple, and it just hasn't worked out yet. But we will find the right home for him.
Well, I mean, and I think that is a great segue into maybe talking about the term dog selective, because we used it actually in the last segment that we did for Clear the Shelters here on Live Impact. But it's a term that we hear in rescue where you have a dog who probably has the potential to get along well with other dogs, but you just kind of have to find out what that factor is. Is it, if Randall's a male, does he get along better with female dogs? Or does Randall get along better with dogs his own size versus smaller dogs? Any indication that he might have a certain, dog that he would get along with? You haven't found it yet, and it's potential that you just...
No, and at our shelter, they do a kind of a let the dogs roam in their play area together. They don't just bring one dog out and leave it. Some of our shelter personnel have been trained to handle dogs that are in a group. And Randall is out there in those groups a lot of times, but sometimes he has a tendency to be maybe a little pushy towards other dogs. We just don't know. Some dogs don't like little dogs. Some dogs don't like bigger dogs. So it's hard to say where Randall's focus is. A lot of times it can be just, if we do have a dog that's adopted, it's a slow process in introducing him to other dogs. Let them know that he is part of the pack, and that's exactly what they are, whether it be 2 dogs or 5 dogs. When they get to know each other and they become accepted or accept other dogs, that becomes a pack instinct for them.
Yeah. Well, I would urge folks not to write Randall off just because, I've seen multiple cases where either with training or just taking the time, as you mentioned, being nice and slow, Randall could probably find, a household that he would get along great with, whoever the family member is. But we've got another pup to share in the meantime. So our next pup up is Fred. So give us a second. We're going to get Fred up on the screen. So looks like Fred is 67 pounds, neutered male, terrier mix. Good guy to be outdoors, being, running around, scrappy dog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is. Randall is basically a typical pit bull mix. He's like a blue pit. If you look closely at Randall, he has some scars on his face, so we know there's been some difficulty in his life in the past. But he still is real friendly. He loves people, and typical pit bulls or the mixes, they love kids. Mm-hmm. They absolutely love kids. A lot of people don't realize that the early 1900s, they were considered the nanny dog.
Yep.
People loved them because they loved kids and they were protective of their kids.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, he looks like a cutie, and I'd certainly love to see him in a forever home, considering the fact that you just mentioned it sounds like maybe he has been through some tough times. Mm-hmm. We've got Jersey up next. Ooh, I love the ears on Jersey.
Jersey's one of my favorites.
Yeah, tell us about her.
Well, Jersey has been to 2 or 3 of our adoption events. I, for the life of me, cannot figure out why she hasn't been adopted. Oh. She's sweet, as I mentioned to you in the bio I sent. She has a tendency to be protective when she's within a barrier, like a crate or a cage or something mm-hmm. like that. She becomes a totally different dog when she's out. She's happy, she plays, she likes people. All those transitions from the cage to outside, they go away once she's out. And
Yeah.
she is very, very active.
I just love her face. She's got like, I don't know, almost like a Batman look, but
Yeah, she's got the years, for
And-
sure.
And I feel like, this is probably a good time to talk about barrier reactivity, because that's something that I've seen, historically, that could be trained out of a pet if you, either get professional help or, you could do some good research online. There are a lot of tricks and tools that you can learn about to kind of get a dog a little bit more comfortable. Essentially what you find is sometimes there's a little bit more anxiety with a dog that is meeting another dog, let's say, but there's a barrier between them. So maybe it's a kennel door. In some cases you see leash reactivity, which is kind of considered like a barrier as well. The dog doesn't feel free to move around, so they get a little bit more anxious. But all of that I've seen, there are multiple trainers in our area that can work on that. And, if that is something that somebody would like to do.
And in Jersey's case, hers is more reactive when she's kind of boxed in.
Okay.
We see a lot of dogs that the shelter people do their best to give a bio on them, and then we get them at our adoption event. And for example, I'll give a perfect example, that we had a dog adopted a couple weeks ago. He was supposed to not like men. Well, I don't know where it came from. Could have been totally from the kennel, but he was so, his name was Roscoe, and he was so into everybody. Matter of fact, when a couple would approach him, he'd more often go to the man than the woman. And
that's
I think I
interesting.
sent you a picture of Roscoe.
Oh.
He is the one that is laying down with his belly being rubbed with a huge smile on his
Oh,
face.
I think, let's see, we might have that actually. It's, Jeb, it's the, on the
White?
right side of our play deck. Right, on the right side, right at the bottom. Tuesday. Yep. That's him. I think that's him. Is that him?
Yep, that's Roscoe.
We got him.
Look at the smile on his face.
And that looks like a man petting him,
It is,
by the way.
absolutely. Yeah, that's the dangerous man that he doesn't
Yeah.
supposedly like. And we saw that all day long. And he was another one that was great to be a couch potato.
Yeah. So that's some of the pictures, by the way, that you sent us of one of your adoption events, or actually probably multiple of your events, kind of all edited together. But we've got 4 folks up next. She's a cutie. And she's the chocolate lab. I love her. And I do have, oops. Sorry, folks. They're not adoptable. They're already spoken for. I apologize. That was a miscue, mispunch. But let's go ahead and get to Katie, I believe, is the next one. Yep. She's a senior. I love seniors, by
Yep.
the way.
Katie, we had her last week at the adoption event. She's laid back. She is a senior. They have a guest age around 8 at the shelter. She seemed to act younger than 8. The only thing they can tell by age when they come in as strays is by what their teeth look like. So that's why some dogs, they do their best again to guess their ages. Katie is typical chocolate lab, fun-loving. She's just a sweet girl. My wife had her part of the time last week, and she just loves her. If I didn't have enough dogs at home, I probably would find a home for Katie.
Yeah. I mean, loves a good lap. I love to hear that. Oh, like a nice security blanket
Yep,
for you.
Exactly.
Oh, and yeah, the seniors sometimes can get overlooked in the shelter, which is such a shame, because you find that sometimes the puppy behaviors, if you feel like you're not quite ready to navigate all that, the seniors kind of come free of that, I want to say, in a lot of cases. Sometimes they're housebroken because maybe they have lived in a house previously before they came to the shelter. She's, what a face. I just love to see it.
Yep, I love that face.
All right, our next pup here, I believe we've got up next. Yep, that's the scarf baby. I call her Mandy Rose.
Mandy Rose, yep.
She is a lab, and she is on the senior side as well.
She is, but there is definitely not a senior bone in her body right now.
Oh, she's still energetic.
She is very energetic. In the cages that we had them in over the weekend, she spent as much time standing up as she did down, and she didn't lay down till the end of the day. and sometimes the day gets long for them, so.
Yeah.
But she was up every time somebody came around. Mandy May is a type of dog that probably you wouldn't want her to be adopted if you had domestic goats or chickens or anything like that, because she has the instinct. But she's a great girl. She's been out a couple times on a 5-bark stay. That's where people can take them out, give them a few days out of the shelter, and then they can bring them back. And so she's been out a couple times. So she's been at the shelter probably overall about 2 months, I'm going to say.
Yeah. But she seemingly does well with other dogs.
Yes,
which is
yes,
good.
she's good with other dogs. That's correct.
Very, very cute. Yeah, likes to chase goats was the note that you sent me.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my, Mandy Rose.
That was her last 5-bark.
Okay. And I believe we have a kitty cat too for our
Yes.
next one. So our next is Snowball, who is also on the older side.
Yep.
But he's got a little blep for us, a little tongue action in that picture, which is so cute. It's Tongue Out Tuesday. Tell us about Snowball.
Well, Snowball is been at the shelter for a little while. Oh, like you said, senior cats and dogs are a little harder to get adopted. Everybody loves the kittens, and we are still in kitten season, but Snowball is still available and adopted. She might need a little bit of patience to adapt because cats have a tendency to be a little bit harder to adapt to a new environment when they're older. And I don't have a lot of information on Snowball, but she is right now the only senior. We only had 3 other kittens available at the shelter, but that's probably going to change. They do their spay neuters at the shelters on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I looked at the stray hold, and there's about 30 cats on stray hold right now. So they will be coming available soon, and we have those cats available at the PetSmart in Lincolnton. They're also available at a cat cafe in Lincolnton, I believe.
Oh, that's great. Okay. So those are the main highlights that you sent to us ahead of time. Obviously, you have many more animals. I did want to mention that I put together a web article with more information about hats, more information about Lincoln County Animal Services with links, and also pictures to all of our adoptables, plus the link to check out all of the adoptables that you have on your website right now. So that can kind of give folks a better idea of maybe the fuller look of what might be at the shelter.
Right.
I did want to mention, as we kind of start to wrap things up, the fact that y'all do a lot of work there in Lincoln County, not just working to get animals adopted, but also just to kind of support the shelter and adopters in any way possible. And try to get animals into rescues too. We have some images from Danny, who is absolutely adorable, and it looks like she might have gone through some things.
Yes. I wanted to mention Danny because this highlighted the cooperation between several agencies in Lincoln County. I believe it was either the Lincolnton Police or the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office that found Danny. She'd been hit by a car. She was about 4 months old at the time. The officer picked Danny up and took her to Denver Emergency, where they evaluated her and determined that her back legs were kind of paralyzed at the time. The vet there felt that possibly she may have to be put down, but the officer called the shelter. The shelter director immediately called our president of HATS and said, "What do you think? Do you think we can help Danny?" And we said 100%. So they did a little bit of surgery there at the Denver Emergency. They took Danny back to the shelter, did some therapy with her. One of our volunteers had that wheelchair that she's outfitted with as one that he'd had for one of his dogs. He donated that to her. And the day that she first got the wheels behind her was the happiest day I think I've ever seen Danny.
Aww.
She had smile on her face. She was rolling up and down the aisle at the shelter, happy as can be. They continue to do water therapy with her, and eventually I believe it was the Piedmont Rescue then took her, and they were able to give her more therapy. I don't think she was able to stand a little bit without the wheelchair, but she never, to my knowledge, ever got back her full strength in her. But eventually she was adopted from Piedmont, found her forever home, and she's been very happy.
That's great. It's so great to see. And I think it's the reason we wanted to share the story is just one of the many ways that
Yes.
folks can help out. You know, you kind of pointed out the fact that sometimes you already have a lot of pets in the house. You still want to make a difference, feel like you're making an impact. You could volunteer, you could foster, you could help out an organization like HATS in all of the different efforts that you have, just getting animals from shelters into rescues. You talked about filling Kongs. Danny's story is just one example of how volunteers can come together to make a difference for one animal that might have not had the chance otherwise. And who knows what could have happened to Danny, if y'all didn't step in.
Danny was such a sweetheart.
Yeah. Anything that you want to leave us with before we wrap things up here about, message to folks watching at home about the need, how they can help, just anything?
Well, there's many ways people can help. Obviously, adoptions is our number one goal. I have a number one goal, and that's 0. That 0 means no dogs, no cats in the shelter. And I actually saw it once for about 2 hours. But
Wow. That's incredible, though, even for that amount of time.
At least for dogs. I don't know about cats, but at least there was one time when we had an event like Clear the Shelter, and every dog was adopted. Unfortunately, one of the dogs did come back, but that was a great day. Volunteering, HATS is a total volunteer organization. 93% of our funds go right directly back to the animals. We support the shelter. Our county has been very supportive to us. They're providing us with a new shelter they're going to be building here in the very near future. The site work has been being completed, and I think that says a lot. We're a small county overall compared to some of the larger ones around, but the people in this county have a lot of heart and a lot of giving. And help the shelter, help HATS. We do an adoption event at PetSmart in Lincolnton every Saturday from 10:30 till 3:30, and we're there every single Saturday. We run 2 shifts, a morning shift and the afternoon shift. And I have 4 other leaders that work diligently to keep this going. Some of them have been doing this for a long time, and I can't say enough for the volunteers that we have.
It really makes a difference when you have a community coming together to do the important work. Ken Phelps, we thank you so much for your time, and thank you for what you are doing for the animals. We appreciate it, and we're glad we could kind of profile some of that work for folks here.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for taking the time to let us talk about it.
Absolutely. We'll remind folks once again, the group is called HATS, Helping Animals to Survive. The shelter where you saw all those pets, that's Lincoln County Animal Services. We've got more information on our website, WCNC.com, inside the WCNC Charlotte mobile app. And just keep it here on WCNC Plus. Throughout the rest of the month, we'll be highlighting local animals, local rescues, local shelters, and how you can make a difference in this Clear the Shelters campaign.